Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sunday. We're going to do a real fast NBA members only. This one will also be free to the public. Feel free to click that thumbs up button. I'm sure things will change. It's a classic NBA day, like literally every other day of NBA DFS that I can honestly remember talking about at this point.
It is kind of nice that there's only like 5 games tonight.
It is kind of nice. Before we get into the DK plays, though, guys, I want to talk about one of our partners, which is the website Drafters. And specifically, we've been mentioning a contest that's going to have big overlay on it. And it closes down in about 11 days. They've been trying to fill it, but they're really, they're not getting that close right now. So it's got a prize pool for 6,000 people. But at this point, there's only like 2,500 entrants. If anybody wants to draft, it's only a $5.50 buy-in. Let me know. I'll draft with you. We can play together. We got first place is getting 6,000, but like you can see right now, top 1,000 win money. Well, at this point, that means you barely need to do like a double up to get in the top half, but still have like the ability to get GPP money,
which is awesome.
Yeah, overlay is a great thing, and if you want an opportunity to get some, I miss the NFL, and if anybody wants to draft with me, you know how to get a hold of me. There's a million different ways. Let's do it.
Let's get it.
All right, game one, Portland against Charlotte. This is one of the games that's going to get a good amount of attention today. We're going to talk about the Charlotte side right now. What we know for sure is that Devontae Graham is considered questionable. If he's out, even at this price tag, it's worth giving a little look to Scary Terry. He's playing big minutes. Charlotte is still motivated to win. And this is a guy, when he's playing well like this, is actually really capable of big DFS scores because, well, we got no LaMelo Ball. We got no Gordon Hayward. Those guys eat into him a lot. I don't think he's a must or anything like that. But if Devontae Graham is out, I do have some interest. And he'll probably be a little lower owned than like the Paul Georges and CJs.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, no LaMelo, no Gordon Hayward, potentially no Graham. All of a sudden, Rozier is the guy. Him and Miles Bridges.
Yeah, and if Graham plays and PJ Washington plays, I have less interest.
For sure.
Jalen McDaniels is the other guy that's been all over people's rosters the last couple of weeks, but for me, he's priced out now.
I agree.
Okay. You mentioned Miles Bridges. It's tough to pay $7,200 for him. He is capable, though. He just showed us in a loss to Brooklyn. He has another plus matchup here with Portland. I would struggle to get here at $7,200 because of the sticker shock, but we've also seen like he has cash-ish value in 2 of the last 5. And then also has like nice GPP value. So if you want to risk it, I think the sticker shock keeps people off him. However, if Devontae Graham and PJ Washington play, I have substantially less interest.
Agreed.
So on the Portland side of things, we know big game Dame is out. CJ was only okay on Friday night. I used him because I was looking for a shooting guard around his price point, and he was fine. He's definitely got room to grow right here, right? Like no rebounds.
Yeah.
I think he kind of just used him as a lock in this matchup.
Only 2 threes. Like he had made more threes every game before that, with Dame in.
Yeah, so I think he'll be very popular and deservedly so. And then one of your favorite guys, Anthony Simons, we've seen one game now, what it's like, and he played 30 minutes. Now, I don't think he's guaranteed to replicate the 30 points, but he played 30 minutes, and at this price point, he's a fine filler option at $3,600.
No doubt about any of that.
Other than that, nobody else I'm really trying to get to on Portland. I think Norman Powell is fine. That's about it. Derrick Jones Jr. started last game, but he did nothing, and that's kind of what we assume from him.
Yeah, not really excited about it.
All right, we got OKC taking on Toronto. What feels like the first time in forever, like Toronto guys aren't really in play. We got Kyle Lowry playing today. Malachi Flynn is 6K. We might get Van Vliet. Siakam's in. We got Khem Birch playing big minutes. Boucher's good. Like they're kind of out of play for me today.
I agree with that, which seems weird, but the truth right now.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Toronto out of play. And as far as OKC goes, man, I just pardon my French, but fuck this team.
For sure.
I'm so fed up with this nonsense that they're giving us this year. It's just, as an NBA fan alone, it's just really on my bad side.
For sure. I couldn't agree more with that.
Houston, Kevin Porter Jr. is the other combo guard shooting guard that will eat into Terry Rozier ownership. With John Wall out today, he's going to be real popular. Deservedly so. He gets a bad Orlando team. He's only 6,600. We've seen what happens a lot of times when he's in this situation. I don't think he's like a lock for great points, but I think he's a pretty good play right here and will get a lot of love.
Definitely like Rozier a lot more, assuming those guys are out, but different price points. So I think they're both solid plays.
The other guys in play, I liked Christian Wood the other day. I didn't end up using him. Thank God I used Brandon Ingram over him as Brandon Ingram tripled his score, but he was terrible. It was a blowout game. Denver rolled. Orlando is not Denver. I think Christian Wood, Kelly Olynyk, and Kevin Porter are all three guys you can take a look at.
Yeah, I saw Olynyk was the one guy who was good last time out.
He's been good a lot since coming over to Houston.
Yeah, like real good. I mean,
I don't know. On a small slate, he's definitely in play.
For sure.
All right, so we pivot off the Houston guys over Orlando. Wendell Carter is a guy getting some attention today, deservedly so. Better if Bamba is out once again. Okeke maybe in deeper GPPs, but with Michael Carter Williams out. Go ahead.
Okeke seems to have plateaued a little bit.
For sure. Not a guy I'm trying to prioritize. Cole Anthony now taking over as the lead dog for Michael Carter Williams. I think he's a fine play. I don't think he's anywhere close to a must. I don't think he gets a lot of love today if you're trying to switch it up a little bit at point guard. He's a little pricey for where I'd want to go, but he's fully capable of giving you solid points here.
I agree. A little bit pricier than I'd like, but 35 to 40 is not out of the equation at all.
You know, and they've entered Gary Harris into the equation now. They got a lot of bodies down here in Orlando.
That's the problem.
Yeah, they're, no Otto Porter, but Ennis, Harris, Bacon, Terrence Ross, Okeke. They got a lot of guys trying to mix it in. So it's really Wendell Carter or bust, and maybe Cole Anthony.
No doubt.
All right, going over to Dallas. Luka's going to be chalk today. One, because there's really not a lot of other studs on this slate. Two, he's got small forward eligibility. Three, it's Luka. And he also finally had a good game the other day.
Yeah, he did. Finally played really well in a loss. Not that he had been like awful before that. From a DFS perspective, he hadn't been great. But the big point for me is like there aren't many other pivots to him off like on this like good spot against Sacramento. Although I could easily see Dallas rolling here.
Yeah, Sacramento, Dallas coming off an embarrassing loss. Sacramento
sucks.
Exactly. In GPPs, I don't mind getting off Luka chalk, and I think the pivot to Porzingis is a real option for me. Prior to last game, we'd seen Porzingis beating Luka on the regular.
This is a smash spot for Porzingis also.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I'm probably actually more interested in Porzingis than Luka today.
In tournaments or for both?
For me, probably both. And I realize there's some gear, but we kind of talked about Luka not looking right, and he finally had a big game. But what sticks out to you about this big game?
The 19 assists.
Right? That's something that's no guarantee to happen again. He still hasn't had double-digit rebounds in weeks now. He'd only scored 22 points and shot 7 to 16. He didn't do anything special. The assist relies on your teammates making buckets. That is not a guarantee to replicate. That was his first double-digit assist game in weeks. That seems like it could be a little bit fluky. I am intrigued by the Luka fade, especially in tournaments. And I'm with you. I could see the Kings winning, or the Kings falling over and dying today, and Luka doesn't play in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, in that case, like I don't even think you need Porzingis.
Not necessarily, right? But I think the pivot to him is real, or not playing either.
For sure. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because the other thing is there aren't that many, like you said, expensive options. But like if you ultimately get like the guys out for Charlotte and you like Rozier and McCollum, those guys are decently pricey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think the fate of Luka is fine. It's a little risky because he's Luka and he's going to be high owned and it's a good matchup and everything like that. But if you want to tell yourself the story that Dallas rolls in this game, I think that's a plausible story. Also, other guys play well. Like Luka is not 100% healthy, which has been one of the reasons that he has not been. I mean, this seems weird to say about a player, but Luka hasn't triple-doubled in forever.
Which is weird.
Yeah, he's not 100% himself. The Dallas announcers were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, you're right. It does seem weird to say that, but in today's day and age, I mean, I always think about this, like we talk about Westbrook. Like, I remember hearing about how, still hear me?
Sorry, I had to let my dog in real quick.
No, you're okay. I remember always hearing about Oscar Robertson averaging a triple-double, and like no one will ever do that again. Like one of the greatest sports feats ever. Like, it makes what Russell Westbrook does. Like, I don't even think people appreciate it.
No, it also tells you a lot about the changes in the NBA, right?
Yes, for sure. That too.
We got Clippers against Minnesota in the last game. Kawhi, the Claw Leonard, is listed as questionable. My gut instinct is he ain't going to play because this is a very winnable game without him. Playoff P has been anything but playoff P lately. He's been perfect P. He's been fantastic lately. Paul George is going through one of the best stretches of his career. He's another guy who's going to get a lot of attention tonight, even at the new elevated price tag, because he's earned every second or every dollar of it, dropping 50 plus in 5 straight, 60 plus in back-to-back games. He gets a terrible team in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Assuming Kawhi's out, I think you lock him into cash games. I have him as a higher priority than Luka right now. However, I think there's also the possibility that, they roll up on Minnesota. I think that's a possibility. I will give the Timberwolves credit as they've played more competitive games in recent history, but I think Paul George is a lock for me in cash games.
Yeah, he seems like a lock everywhere unless he sits. On this particular slate, I definitely like him more than Luka. He looks like the top big money spend. I've been on him. I mean, he looks good right now. I mean, good spot on a smaller slate. I think you just play him and move on.
It's the last game, and it's the last game by 2.5 hours. If you want to talk me out of playing this slate, you want to know the reason for it, I'm never surprised by some fuckery, and you don't have a lot of pivots.
I was going to say, that's the other thing. If you just want to fade Paul George because, it's the last game and maybe he sits, I can get on board with that.
Don't be surprised if the Clippers all of a sudden a half-hour or Paul George has a toothache or something like that and he's not in. I don't think I wouldn't bet on it, but I wouldn't bet against it.
They've done it too many times for us to bet against that.
We've all been victims of that. It makes me a little weary on this slate, right? To think that is a real possibility. And there's not a lot of pivots.
You're
going to end up playing Luke Kennard.
At that point, there's no pivot either.
And if you're going to have him in there, maybe get him into the guard spot specifically. Because, let's just say, all of a sudden, if Paul George doesn't play, the Minnesota guys make more sense. And now you can at least pivot to Anthony Edwards or D'Angelo Russell.
For sure. Good call. I mean, obviously, utility would ultimately be where you want him if you could do it.
And actually, as I say that, they're both shooting guard eligible too. So just have a little strategy in the back of your mind about how you want to implement that. And if Paul George isn't in, all of these Minnesota guys do become a lot more intriguing.
Yeah, like Towns. Maybe you maybe you play Towns because at least, you have places to go if George gets rolled out or something.
And Towns busted last game because he fouled out, but he'd been playing very well before that.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's solid for 50 plus here most nights.
Yeah. Especially if Paul George is out and you expect this to be a game against the Clippers D squad.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, on the off chance that Paul George is out, I like me some Zubac. I like Marcus Morris.
Kennard.
Yeah, Terrence Mann, who's been really, really good to us. Reggie Jacks. Yep.
These guys become the top players on the slate if George is out.
I think a lot of people forget how good Reggie Jackson is because he's, been relegated to a 6-man type of role. This is a guy that I can't think of the numbers on the contract, but he was expected to be just short of all-star caliber point guard a few years back.
Yeah, he's definitely fallen out of favor, and as younger guys have gotten better, he's fallen out of favor, I guess is the best way to put it. But he's still very talented offensively for sure.
Yeah, I used him in that Detroit game. He dropped the 39 spot for me. He dropped 46 against Houston. And the Timberwolves are similar a team to these guys.
He's not a great shooter, but he's a good enough shooter, and he's
assertive.
He's assertive. He can get to the hole. He's a guy that when you roster him, you're a fan because he's assertive, like you just said.
I wouldn't like him at this price tag if they were at Philly and kind of tanking the game. Right. But they're at home against Minnesota. It ain't the same thing. It's not even remotely close to the same thing.
Not even close.
And then again, these Minnesota guys, they all become more in play. You tell me Paul George is out, I got some interest in, potential future rookie of the year, Anthony Edwards. Not I think he's like that, but I have a little interest in that spot.
For sure.
I can't get to D-Lo. But either way, Luka will be chalk. And just to reiterate, like we talked about him, but the quote unquote smart on paper move is probably to use him in cash games. I don't know. It takes a little balls to fade him, but I'm on board fading him if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I like all the points we made, and like even though there aren't a ton of spots, like ton of studs on the site, you can't roster everyone. You can't roster Rozier, McCollum, Luka, Paul George. Like rostering all four of those guys is probably not doable. So,
price considered, I like McCollum and George over Luka.
And I like Rozier, man. Like no one's going to spend 8,200 on him. He's a stud when he like gets to be the guy.
Yeah, and if Washington and Graham are out today, that's good for him.
Rozier is good enough to be the guy offensively, like for stretches, not like for a year, like on a playoff team, but like he can be, and he's confident enough to be the number one option on a team.
There are games I have watched Terry Rozier play where I'm like, this dude's an all-star. Now, there's other games where I thought, oh my God, I can't believe how much money they're paying him. But he is, when he plays well like this, he played 40 and 43 minutes the last two games. Like, that's just something you can't say about a lot of players, that they're going to play that many minutes. And if Graham and Washington are out again, he'll probably play 40 minutes again.
And we talked about Reggie Jackson, is underappreciated, better offensively than people think. Rozier is much better offensively, in my opinion, than
I like Terry Rozier. I'm a fan of Terry Rozier. I've watched him give it to my Milwaukee team when he played for the Celtics a few times. I just became a fan.
For sure. So he's talented, man. I like that call a lot.
So again, we'll watch. I'm sure a lot of new news will come out. Write-up will be out later on, guys, but that kind of comes through or kind of summarizes early thoughts on NBA, which is, I don't know, it's up for change.
It's up for change, but I mean, it does seem like these teams, obviously we went through the possible scenarios. Obviously, you could always get stuff that we don't expect, but it does seem like more of a mellow day than a lot of other days.
Early on, I just got done writing up the basketball stuff yesterday, and then all of a sudden I look and the Spurs took everybody out. That is a pathetic loss by the Suns.
Oh, awful. So I feel your pain because I just got done with the baseball write-up, and I had Cole Calhoun as a hard recommend, with Strasburg scratched. And right when I posted it, Calhoun got scratched. So I felt like an NBA write-up.
Man, I don't think anybody confuses me for a tough guy or even like an internet tough guy, but modern day athletes get scratched so quickly these days. It's so different than when we were young.
And I think it has so much to do with the money and all that. Like these guys are such precious commodities now. Like, yeah, you're so right. They're treated with kids' gloves all the time.
If we see some good teams, like let's say the Nets tank in the playoffs this year, like they win the first round and then lose to like Boston or something like that, and it's because Durant and Harden and Kyrie haven't played together, and the Clippers who rest guys every single day, it seems like it bounced again. Like I wonder if we can, and I'm praying that we all of a sudden next year guys like maybe we need to get our guys to play together more games.
Who's the team that hasn't rested though? That's going to win it. That hasn't rested.
I would have said Denver if Jamal Murray hadn't gotten hurt.
Sure.
Utah rests Conley every other day, but other than that, they let their guys run.
They're pretty good. Phoenix lets their guys run mostly. I mean, LeBron plays every game except for like when he's hurt, which is something to be said.
For sure. I do think just imagine if we saw I could have said the same thing about my Bucks, but now they've been resting guys lately too, so I can't even talk about them. But like, if you see the Phoenix Suns make the NBA playoffs or the finals this year, like, man, they played together every game.
That will be talked about, like for sure.
I would love that. I'm all of a sudden, I like Phoenix because I'm a big Booker fan. Like, all of a sudden, like, I'm rooting for him hard just to get back to like a semblance of normalcy. Because I hate this. You guys have heard me whine about this for weeks now. Like, I want to watch the good players play.
Well, and for us too, that are trying to recommend and talk the stuff out, it's difficult to say the least.
Like Kyle Lowry, this is the first game he's playing. He's been rested 3 games in a row. Like, get the fuck out of here. Come on, really?
It makes no sense.
Anyways, guys, good luck today, both sports, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.